Hello and welcome to No Rest for the Weekend. I'm Jason Godbey, and later on the program, I'll be speaking with the co-founder of Queer Voices NYC, an up-and-coming film festival here in New York. But first, we got some No Rest for the Weekend news. All right, so before we get to the interview, I do have some updates on some upcoming film festivals, including New York Film Festival. The opening night is going to be Ramel Ross's Nickel Boys, the adaptation of Colson Whitehead's Pulitzer Prize-winning novel. Stars Ethan Hersey, Brandon Wilson, Hamish Linklater, Fred Heckinger, Daveed Diggs, and Anjanou Ellis-Taylor. The film will screen on September 27th at Alice Tully Hall. Luca Guadagnino's latest film, Queer, will be featured as the Spotlight Gala, making its U.S. premiere on October 6th. The adaptation of the William S. Burroughs novel stars Daniel Craig, Drew Starkey, Jason Schwartzman, Leslie Manville, Michael Boremans, Andra Urtzula, and David Lowery. Pedro Almodovar's The Room Next Door, starring Julianne Moore and Tilda Swinton, will be the centerpiece selection, making its U.S. premiere at Alice Tully Hall on October 4th. This is Almodovar's first feature in English. The closing night film will be Steve McQueen's Blitz, starring Saoirse Ronan and Elliot Heffernan. That film will make its North American premiere on October 10th, also at Alice Tully Hall. The New York Film Festival will run from September 27th to October 10th at Lincoln Center, and you can find updates on our website and the festival website, filmlink.org/NYFF62. In October, the 12th edition of the Chelsea Film Festival will run from October 16th to the 20th here in New York City. For more details on that festival, their website is chelseafilm.org. And then in November, NYC WebFest will return to New York City's Producers Club, running from November 8th to the 10th. That festival celebrates its 11th year running. Now, last year, we caught up with the festival founder and friend of the show, Lauren Atkins.
I'm Lauren Atkins. I'm the founder of NYC WebFest, which was, when we started, New York's first web series festival. And we now screen pilots and short films. And we are at the Chelsea Bell in Manhattan having a networking event for filmmakers as a end of summer blowout as submissions are about to close. So I was involved, produced, and I was also in a web series called My Friends Think I'm Funny. And it was created by Mike King, who is a comedian. And it was just about how the regular public doesn't realize how difficult stand-up comedy is. And they think it's just someone being funny, and they don't realize the art form and the rehearsal that goes through it. And we were looking for a place to showcase this. We tried to pitch it to TV, which we did, and then we changed it into a web series. It became sort of like a funny docu-series. And then we were looking where to showcase this. And LA WebFest was the first of its kind, and I went to LA in 2013, but also went to several web series events in New York as well, around the same time, and I just realized that there was a market for this. There was comedy web content happening in the Lower East Side or in the Village, and then there were like Black web series in Harlem, and I just thought there needs to be something that brings the community together. And so I brought that in 2014. After the first year in 2014, the festival really exploded. From 2015 to 2019, we had creators fly in from around the world, many different countries around the world, in Europe, in South America, in Canada. There is funding for digital projects. We just had this amazing turnout of people over the years. Then the pandemic came along. I had just been back home in South Africa, where I was born, and had been on the radio and had spoken to people about doing a festival down there. And of course, in March, everything changed. And we had the gift of time because our festival wasn't due to happen until November of 2020. And so we just sat back, postponed the submission period, and then we went virtual, which is probably the best thing I've ever done, just because it was so hard and I learned so much. We had virtual networking, and we still managed to have virtual panels with filmmakers from around the world. We respected their time zones. And then in 2021, we decided to go virtual again. And 2022, for our 9th annual, I partnered with a venue, a wonderful venue behind the Sandbar in North Beach in Miami, and now we are at our 10th anniversary and we are back home in New York. So for 2023, our 10th anniversary, we are looking at showcasing obviously new talent. We've always specialized on that, and also bringing back some former creators and showcasing official selections and talent, especially in New York in particular. For November, we hope to have several streaming services and options for the independent creator and for web series creators to showcase their work.
Recently, the festival announced the launch of their 24-hour on-demand streaming channel on Homeland Network and also its affiliate Footprint Network TV. You can find that channel on homelandtv.ottchannel.com. And for more information on the festival, visit nycwebfest.com. And joining me now, he is the co-founder of Queer Voices NYC, Mr. Brandon Smith. Welcome, Brandon.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you, man. We met at the Truth Seekers Summit, which was really interesting. Met a lot of great people there, and I was kind of surprised to hear about your fest a little bit. Tell me kind of the origin story of the festival and like kind of what it's about, like what the mission of the fest is.
I feel like when I hear origin, I think of Star Wars. But yeah, leaning back into it, so COVID happened, obviously, and, things shut down. And so I applied for this grant through the New York City's mayor's office for then Mayor de Blasio to bring back cultural programming to New York City. And I was applying for it, and I went back home to St. Louis, actually, for a week. And while I was sitting there thinking about what I wanted to apply for, this idea of a film screening came, and I was looking into what was lacking or what I didn't see from my community. And so I came up with Queer Voices film screening. So it's called Queer Voices of NYC, where we feature filmmakers from every borough, including Staten Island. And yeah, we got to think about our friends there. And, it was really, from that program was very impactful. And that just showed me a lot of opportunities that were there, and also the opportunities that were lacking for queer filmmakers. And so that program was successful. We had it at the Actors Fund Theater in downtown Brooklyn. And, it was just me at that time. And, after it being successful, the community loved it. They were asking for more. And I was like, I'm tired. And, was doing it by myself. And so at that same time, I ran into my now business partner / co-founder of Queer Voices Film Festival. And I told him, I was like, listen, we have this great idea. Would you be interested in helping me? And he was, it was Kismet. And so we, took the film screening, and that came into a 3-day film festival, now Queer Voices NYC Film Festival, which is now a international film festival featuring queer filmmakers of color from New York City and all around the world.
I guess my question is, like, what didn't you find? Because, there are other festivals that feature queer films and things like that. Like, what didn't you see at, like, New Fest or one of the more established festivals that you wanted to see?
It's crazy because New Fest is literally probably one of the only biggest film festivals in New York City. And let's, like, lean into that for one. And being New York City, that should be embarrassing, frankly, that we're a cultural diverse city that has entertainment, and we only have one queer film festival. So to get back to your question, what didn't I see? I didn't necessarily, for me, see a cultural driven program that really centered diversity and equity. And I'm a filmmaker myself. And so I was looking into what things were lacking that I needed, i.e. funding, i.e. community networking, being in fellowship with other actors, writers, producers that had an interest to learning more about how to have a career in in filmmaking, and this media entertainment industry.
You've been in how long have you guys been running right now?
So we have been technically running for 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in that time, have you been able to do some of the stuff that you've been talking about in terms of getting filmmakers the funding that they need, or at least giving them opportunities?
We actually got picked up by Columbia University's their Insight program to be in their incubator program, where they work with smaller organizations that are rooted in social justice and activism and amplifying BIPOC communities. And so we received a grant that would support these programs, making our programs free and accessible. And so we have been able to create programming that brings in these community-based organizations, i.e. Made in New York, with their program to help you get job opportunities. We also work with organizations called PANO that work with women and femme identifying folks in entertainment to kind of bring us all together. Black Film and TV Collective we've been outreaching to. So our networking events has really brought community together. And then last year, our film festival, we've had our filmmakers collaborate with each other. They're now working with each other. They're producing projects with each other. It's so cool to hear people that came to one of our events and now they're working with one of our audience members or one of our filmmakers. So we have been able to hit that mark, and we're actually working on providing grant opportunities moving forward so folks can produce their work and get some equity and distribution to fund their projects.
For you guys, is there a criteria like that? Does it have to be a queer filmmaker and a queer story, for lack of a better word? I'm not even sure if that's the correct nomenclature for that sort of thing, but does it have to be both, or can it just be somebody who identifies as LGBTQ plus and has made a film?
I would say Queer Voices NYC is for everyone. That's including all of our allies, supporters that love media and cinema. It's for the festival itself. However, when it comes to what our programming and what our focus is, I would say it's centering BIPOC queer filmmakers. And on a submission, we say that half the cast needs to be someone of color, or the director, writer, or the actors, or the storyline needs to be centering these stories. And we've gotten, I wouldn't say backlash, but we've had some folks asking, why is it centered in this? But the fact that we have to create something like a film festival for BIPOC storytellers, again, going back to that word, it's embarrassing if you look at the data. If you look into how many people are not only given opportunities, or which films get large distribution. The largest distribution that we've seen that was queer related, I would have to say, was Moonlight. And Moonlight came out years ago. The Love You, Barry Jenkins, great. However, that shouldn't be the only film that has been given that much publicity and being greenlit. So I think it's important for us to have our program, because there's just a lack of opportunities out there given to BIPOC queer filmmakers and storytellers. And so, yeah, Queer Voice is really centering those stories, but we need to see those stories and they need to be centered so that, again, we don't actually have to have a festival that's just for BIPOC if we are given the space and opportunities. And if you look at our filmmakers and the stories that they've been, and the people that came to our festival, they're saying they've never been in a space where they saw themselves. And that gave me chills when we look back and see that footage. And even for myself being a filmmaker, it's really hard to navigate a world that's cis and heteronormative, and for cis white men, and having to code switch or have to move about to get an opportunity, when I can just be in space with people of color from all around the world.
I really started noticing it around 2016, when the administration changed and so forth, and it seemed to be this hey, the establishment is not going to help us. We got to help ourselves.
Mm.
But when you do that and you kind of do your own thing, does that alienate you from being, because the money is with the establishment, and to make films, you need money. You know, Terry Fermot, who runs Cannes, said, this is not poetry, it's not painting, you need money.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, do you feel like that by doing this, you can help elevate people to a higher plane of career, or is it sort of segregating them in a way and putting people in their own little bubble?
I like to think that we're elevating our community. I like to think that we're empowering our community through, it's not just a film festival. We have free workshops and panels that, again, that are also open to our allies, that are also open to people that are not queer. It's really a space where you're learning about how to sell your work. You're talking to distribution companies. You're talking to agencies. You know, if whatever film that I would produce is queer related, but then, you know, you have no other choice if someone labels you as a queer filmmaker or a Black filmmaker. You know what I'm saying? We've never ever been able to just sit there in space and just be a filmmaker. We just happen to be queer. And that's what Queer Voices is. It's just really we happen to be queer. You know, we happen to be LGBTQI+, and our stories, we don't get to see queer people in sci-fi, in horror, in romance. We don't get to see queer BIPOC folks in sci-fi, horror, or romance dramas without having to, you know, play the hokey doke or, you know, be, you know, a caricature rather than just a human being. And so we look for stories that showcases our realities, that we are three-dimensional, multi-dimensional people. And so if someone wants to label or think that that's going to segregate us, that's their opinion. But I don't think that that's what we're doing. We're more so amplifying and pushing the needle forward to showcase, because again, you know, and, you know, there was an article being like, well, we don't know where Black women are, or we don't know where queer writers are. We can't find them. We've been here all along. You're saying that it's just a cop-out. You didn't want to hire us, but we've been here. And so Queer Voices NYC is really about, here's our product. This is what we can showcase. And you have no other choice because we're so good. We're undeniably good. And we can do any genre you put us. Again, we happen to be queer. That's not who we are.
I remember Rupert Everett was out, and he was openly gay, and people say that killed his career. Like he didn't do as well as he could have done. If, you know, he could have been the next Tom Cruise with a British accent, you know, if he didn't come out as gay. And I mean, that shouldn't be a thing, but is it still a thing? You know, I think that's something to answer.
You know, I think they've come just a little bit of a long way in Hollywood. You know, as an actor, I can see it being again, a great person is Coleman Domingo. Coleman Domingo has been out, has a partner, you know, damn near married. And he's done roles, again, because he's an actor, he can play any role. And because you're an actor, you're not your sexuality. And so I think looking at Coleman Domingo being like, I literally can play any part. And I think it's honestly amplified his career, being like, I just don't want to do roles that are specifically about my sexuality. But now you see him doing Bayard Rustin and that film, and, you know, he's playing Bayard Rustin, but also, you know, we have him in Walking Dead. He's also played other, you know, he was in The Color Purple. So I think Hollywood's come a little bit of a long way. They still have more work to do, but I think it is a fear in some actors, you know, world that, like, it could hinder your career. But I think the more visibility that we have, the better. You know, I think it's coming a long way.
What I was thinking before about, like, media and Hollywood and the industry in general, I think it's slow to turn because I talk to people in this industry all the time, and I feel like everybody who has something of a career is like walking on a tightrope made of dental floss. And they're just so scared.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not fair, but that's the way it is. And do you feel like with something, if somebody comes out of your festival Do you when you talk to filmmakers, is there still that fear? Or are people over it now?
You know, great question. When I talk to my filmmakers, we know that this industry is not going to greenlight our stories immediately or give us the same marketing distribution to our stories, especially if we're Black or a person of color. We're really not going to get distribution. You can look at the film Bros. I don't think, frankly, I don't think that was the movie for me. However, it didn't get the marketing the value that it could have gotten, because it was really about a gay man. And this industry itself is like, we have an issue right now is getting distribution, getting our stuff on platforms. If we are having to fight or having to like persuade someone to pick up a film, like, and the irony is that there are dollars out there. We have dollars. Queer people have money. If we have money and we're eyeballs and we're viewership, and people really need to start taking us seriously, that we want to see ourselves. And until you start doing right by us, we're not going to do right by you. And so there's more so, I feel like there's an energy to create that story, to not think about whether or not it's going to be bought, or if it is going to be bought, let's see how it can be on a network and kind of pitch it there. But yeah, I don't think people are backing down, especially our community, to back down from, well, what if I get pinned into something? It was like, well, we'll get pinned into something.
I mean, when in doubt, appeal to the greed. Absolutely. I would rather not see the answer be, we need a queer streaming channel or something. Like, I want to see more. I want to see more integration. And when you do see these projects, do you see them getting picked up by networks? Do you see people getting meetings and things like that? Or do you feel like, I mean, it's hard to get a meeting no matter who you are. Like, it's hard for any filmmaker, I feel like, especially if they're an independent filmmaker trying to get into a door, especially now. Have you seen any success, come out of the film festival?
I have, and just kind of giving props to New Fest. We had someone in our community that got picked up from Showtime, and have their feature film on Showtime. And it's like a Black story that is like sci-fi-esque, and, it really was something to like really be moved by. But like, Showtime predominantly has been producing LGBTQI plus work. You have the L Word, the real L Word. You have the film that that mentioned that got picked up through Film New Fest. I think it's Focus Features, I believe, is the company, and there has been some success. But you just have to find the right platform, and it goes down to like, who do you know? I think of like Amazon, like one of those bigger studios. I think of Amazon. I think of Showtime. And Netflix, maybe. I think of those platforms that really pick up queer content. So yeah, I feel like I've seen some success from that. But again, it's only X amount, and how much money are you going to get for marketing? How much space will you get for it? Does it mean that you got to give up your IP? There are all of these ramifications, and like, honestly, like, why not have a queer network? Why not have that? I don't see the problem of having a queer network, because like, queer film is for everybody. Or stories about queer people is for everybody, because it's our world. And it's time to sort of amplify that. You need that visibility to show that like, we're still getting, they want to kill us. Through policy, this country, there's an issue of how there's like over 300 plus like legislations that have gone out and been introduced in multiple states in over the last 10 years. So there is just a need, because visibility is a must, because people don't really see or the value in queer people in our lives.
I'm going to wrap up, but for people who want to know more about the fest, attend the fest, where can they find you all online?
Yeah, so you can find us on Instagram and all social media outlets at Queer Voices NYC. That's at Queer Voices NYC, or www.queervoicesnyc.com. If you want to follow me, you can find me at brandonsmith.arts to learn more about my work. And we hope to see you at the festival September 27th through the 29th. That's going to be hosted at the historic LGBTQ Center based in Chelsea. And hope to see you there at our screening.
All right, Brandon Smith, Queer Voices NYC. Thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you for having me.
And that's all we got for you today. Thanks so much for taking this trip down the rabbit hole. For more of our content, including our movie reviews, visit our website, norestfortheweekendpodcast.com. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app or on YouTube, youtube.com/getbehindtherabbit. I'd like to thank our guests, Lauren Atkins and Brandon Smith. And for Behind the Rabbit Productions, I'm Jason Godbey. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.
This is the BTRP Media Network.